what is any one of you knows about the t-shirt sizing? Like, what is the difference between story points and the t-shirt sizing estimations?
So I think for t-shirt sizing estimation, we can have XS, small, medium, large, XL. So I think we have less option when we go with t-shirt sizing. That's my understanding, right? Like these
No.
are the.
I can make it like extra small, extra small, then small, then medium, then I will say large, extra large, then extra large, extra large. You can make it how much you want it, right? Even we have more options in t-shirt sizing and less options in the numbers, because we are only stick to, like, when you say the Fibonacci, we are only stick to the very limited numbers, like max to max we are taking 13, and even 13 is a very big number, so we are trying to take lesser than that, the 13, right? So what we will do is, let's first talk about what is the t-shirt sizing, where we should do the t-shirt sizing estimate, and then where we should do the story point estimations, and then we will move to our main topic of story estimation, which is the today's topic, right? So basically, when we are getting in a high level requirements from the client, when let's take an example where client says, okay, I have to build an e-commerce website. That is the one the requirement client generally have when they are starting the discussion. Now, what they want in that e-commerce, they will say, okay, I need 10 screens. The first with the login, second with the home screen, third, which is where they can do the search, fourth, where they can put it like the cart options or basket, then sixth, where they can choose the payment option, and the seventh, where they can see the status or after it's ordered, right? So order status and things. These are the major features which comes up. Okay, these are the 7 or 8 features the client need. Now, how we will do that? Because when I say the login page, even for the login page, he has certain 10 requirements within the same login page. Now, if I will elaborate, so the login page is one feature. So we will divide that. So login page is one feature, then home page is another feature, feature 2. Then we have, let me use the whiteboard so it's more easy for all of you to understand. Just a second, I'm just opening the whiteboard. I hope you can. Can you see the whiteboard now?
No.
Now you can see, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So when I was talking about a website, okay, where you can say this. Just a second. I have some issues. Sorry, I have some issue with my Zoom. And what I will do is I will share this one. So let's take an example of these screens where we say, this is the first screen, which is a login screen. Then after that, we have the second screen, which is a home screen. Then after that, we have another screen, which is you will say the listing, right? And then after that, we have another screen, which is, I will say, basket or a cart. And then we have another screen, which will be your payment screen. And then after that, we have the last, which is where you can see the order, or you can say the details, order details. So this is how this whole requirement summarize, right? If you look into this, this is how it looks. So when we talk about any customer, what they need, they will say, okay, I need an application where I have at least these 6 or 7 screens. Now, when we are going to estimate this, we have 2 options. The first option is either we will break down these features into the detailed user stories, and then we will estimate the user stories, and then we will summarize those estimations, and we will give the feature level estimations to the client. And the second option is we will do a high level feature level estimations. We will ballpark, and then we will finalize the deal with the customer, and then we start working on those things. Then second step, we will break down into the user stories. Now, when we are doing this high level feature level estimations, at that time, we are doing the t-shirt sizing. For each t-shirt sizing, we have a range which we can initially identify, and we will say, when I have a range of small, then medium, then large, then extra large, let's only stick to this. Okay. Now, when I say the small, I will say this is a range of between 0 to 25 story points. When I say the medium, that is a range between 25 to, I will say, 50. When I talk about large, that is between 50 to 100. And something which is more than 100, we will call it as a extra large. Now, when we have a range 0 to 25, 25 to 50, 50 to 100, and more than 100, then it's easy for us to ballpark how much estimates we require. Now, how we'll do that? So when we are doing the t-shirt sizing, we don't need the whole team to do the estimations. Generally, for the t-shirt sizing, we need like architects, senior developers, senior like business analysts who really have the experience to work on. They already worked in the past. So what they will do is they will give some high level rough estimates. And when they are giving that, at that time, they will say, okay, for the login page, if you really need, like, let's say 5 things, where one is a simple login page where we will see 2 text box, 1 button, and 1 forget password link, and 1 sign up link. So this is the high level which we require. So what we will do is we create one high level feature, which we are calling as an epic. We will create an epic. We will list down all these requirements in that epic. Okay, in login page, we need these 5 things. And now let's estimate this. Then we will say, okay, if we really need these 5 items on the login page, so it will be either M or it will be either L. So we will estimate like this. Then we will get, okay, on home page. So what we need in the home page? They said, okay, in home page, generally we are seeing favorites. Then we will say some kind of a listing where user can shortlist. So an option of shortlist, an option of filter, an option of search. So all these things we need. And okay, if these are the 5 or 6 high level requirements we have under this feature, so then we will say, okay, we will mark that as an L. And these all as high level estimates having with the help of a discussion with architect, with the few team members, and the business analyst and the product owner. So basically they are discussing and they are giving those high level estimates. So like that, they will say, okay, this is another one where we have to build 6 different acceptance criteria we have. So we will say this will also L. Similarly, we'll say, okay, this will also like M. So then we will get it. So let's say if I'm talking about all these 7, so 2M, 2L, this one I will say it's a extra large. And this is the last one, which I will say again, and a large. Now, when I have to give the total high level estimate to the client, what I will do is I will just transform them into the high level story points. And I will take the maximum range from this list, which you can see here. So when I say M, I will take 50. When I say L, I will take 100. When I say XL, I will take somewhere around 200. And that's how we will do that. So when I summarize, I will say it will be like 50 plus 100 and 100, 200. So 250 plus again, it's a 50, 300. This will be 200, 500, and this will be 100, 600. So when I give the high level estimate to the client, I will say the total estimations which required to build these project or these 7 screens, the estimation is 600 story points. This is how we will do a high level t-shirt sizing, right? And then we will close the deal, and then we will start moving into the next phase, which is the story writing. In the story writing, what we will do is we will break down all these small requirement which we mentioned at the feature level into the stories. For example, when I'm talking about the login page, in the login page we have 5 requirements. First one is the plain login with the 2 text box and the button. That is the one story I will create. Second requirement, a sign up page. That is the second story. Third requirement is a reset password or forget password. That's a third story. If we need to give any additional options of login with Google or any other social media, that's another stories. So like that, we will distribute, or you can say we will break down this high level feature into small stories. That is, so this exercise we will do when we talk about the story writing, how we'll do that. So I will not spend much time on that side. So that's how you will break down this, and our product backlog is ready. Now in the product backlog, initially we only have 7 epics, but now we might have on an average 7 to 10 stories in each epic. So now our backlog have almost 70 to 80 user stories. Okay. As I said, we will cover in the next session about the story writing, how we'll break down, how we'll do that. So here we will only focus on the estimates. Now the point is how we will estimate the user stories. The high level t-shirt sizing we already did. Now how we will do the story level estimations. So for the story level estimations, we are using couple of tools, where one of the tool is Planning Poker, which you all are aware of, right? So what we'll do now, we will just quickly first learn, or we all will participate and try story mapping. Sorry, that part. Let me first close the whiteboard. I will quickly create a Planning Poker link. And then we will try to estimate. I'm sharing a link with all of you. I'm sharing in the chat. You all can join this room. If you want, I can share in the WhatsApp as well.
I can see the link in chat, Chetan.
What you said, Viren?
I was saying that we can access the link through chat.
Okay, it's great. Okay, so this is what you can see. So basically, this is a story point estimation. So I will just quickly give a brief about the how we will do, how we can use the planning poker, and then after that, I will tell you the real trick, which is the main topic of this, how we will relate the story points with the actual efforts what we are doing. Okay, let's take an example of the same first. Okay, I don't know what happened. My audio was disconnected. Okay, now I'm back. So let's take a first user story. The first user story where I will say we have to build a simple form where we have to only add 2 text box, the username and the password, and a button of sign in. That is our first user story. Okay. Now, if you have to estimate, let's say you all are the team members, you all are the developers of a team. Now, if you have to estimate how we will do that. So when we are using the planning poker, according to your experience, you have to choose one number, and these numbers are in the story points. These are not in ours, right? So you can choose any number, and then you can just leave it, and then I will reveal, and then we will see how it looks. So basically, you will learn how to use the planning poker app. Can you choose a number?
Yeah, it shows that waiting for moderator. I think you need to allow us.
I already started.
Something wrong. I'm not able to.
Can you see now?
It gives the same message, waiting for moderator.
Yes,
Is it only
I
for
know.
me or like with the other also?
Yeah,
I
for
know.
me also waiting for moderator.
I know what's the issue. Now you can see, right? Yes.
Chetan, I have one doubt.
Mm-hmm.
So, is it only for designing the page with the username, password, and button, or do we have to do some extra, like how we'll fetch the data or how we'll get the users on board, or only for designing the UI?
Interesting question. So basically, these are the things which we are discussing when we are estimating what are the real requirement of the user story. Does it only we have to design the UI part, or do we need to implement the functionality as well? Like when we enter the username or password and when we click on the login, should we navigate to the home page? So what is the real requirement of this user story? Because I only explained we have to estimate on the basis of 2 text and 1 button. Right? It looks, I only explained the UI part. So when
Okay.
we have these kind of missing part in the user stories, then we will discuss, then it's a responsibility of the product owner and the BAs to update the user stories, add these scenarios, okay, what we are expecting. So as a user, I should enter the username password, I should click on the button, and the moment I click on the button, I should redirect on the home screen. That is the overall user stories expectations, or I will say the acceptance criteria. Until or unless user is not able to see the home page, that user story is not complete, or it's not at least deliverable. If I will break down one user story for the design, another user story for the backend, and then third is just to integrate, then we can only demonstrate when we are done with all 3 user stories. But we are believing in vertical slicing, where we'll say within the one story we will try to implement. So now here what we have to do is we have to enter the detail, we have to click on the button, and user should navigate to the home page. Now we have to estimate. You can see few of you already submitted. Ritika, Sojanya, Kitika, Utkarsh.
I am getting moderator issue. I'm not sure why.
I don't know.
I think Need to refresh.
same at my end also.
Just refresh your screen. You will see it's working now.
Might be the internet issues. Okay, I can see a couple of you already voted. Okay, so now what I will do is I will just flip the cards. Now you can see the estimations. You can see the question mark in front of my name because I didn't vote. And then you can see Surbi voted 13, Suganti, Ritika voted 3, Shilpa voted 2, Utkarsh and Sayyid is also voted 3, and then Sojanya voted 40. So now what we will do is we will discuss the outliers. Like here the outliers is 2 and 40. Like why we think it's 2 and why we think it's 40. We will discuss, and then accordingly we will re-estimate. So Jenny, do you want to add why you think it's a 40?
Chetan, I could not change. I was just trying out and I just clicked on 40.
Okay, so
It's the same story.
what is your new number if you want to give it?
Okay, so I want to give it as maximum 13. It's a user
Okay.
story, right? It's not a
Okay,
technical
yes,
term.
13.
I want
Okay,
to give it
still it's an outlier because then we have 2 13 and 1 2. So let's hear from Shilpa. Shilpa, why it's 2?
So as this is just for the creating a login page, right? So if the team is high performing and if everything good, then I would suggest like a 2 only. Like it's just a setup, right?
Okay, but it's also include the functionality, right? You have to navigate the user, you have to authenticate the user, and then you have to
Yeah,
make sure
then in
people
that
land in
case
a
it may be
homepage.
increased this Chetan. I thought like it is only for the creating login page.
Okay, nice. And then why you gave 13, Surbi and Sojanya?
Yeah, so yeah, as it requires the user password verification, authentication related things, so definitely it will take little effort for testing. So considering that, I would like to rate it as 13. And also maybe the team is known as its new team. So considering other factors, probably.
Okay.
The factors in the sense the team's knowledge, they are doing it for the first time. So probably it will take some time.
Surbi, what's
So
your
the
thought?
maximum
Why
level.
you gave it 13?
So like few people will be working in backend, few people will be in front end, then we will be managing both the sides. Then we need to distribute the work amongst people working in front end. Then we have to discuss it, who will be leading after the go live, who will be supporting it. Everything will take part. So at least minimum 13 will be required. Like if we can divide 4, 4, 4, so it will be like 12, then one person will be the lead of the team. So like that, it can be like.
Okay, let's hear from others as well. Why people think it's 3? Utkarsh, Sayyid.
Yeah. I think it's 3. First of all, I think you have mentioned that maximum number, and that's my understanding, we can take 13. So definitely it's not one of the most complex features. It is actually, to me, it's a very easy feature. We just have to develop it. Definitely, like I have not given it 1 or 2 because some testing is required, some UI UX might be required. But in terms of development, I don't put it on the highest, like not a very complex task. For any complex task, I might give 13. That's our highest number. So I think it should not take much time. That's why I have given it 3.
Okay, now what we will do is we will not continue this planning poker. And the reason is why I bring it right now, because I just want to say the main problem here is we don't have any context for us. What is 3? What is 13? What is 2? Right? And that is the biggest problem. That's why we have these much of differences. So now what we will do is we'll just try to understand how we can relate these numbers with our effort, and then we will again try to do the re-estimation of the story. So I will not close this page. I will keep it as it is. Let's first do that exercise. We will try to understand, and then let's see if you guys change. Okay, so let me quickly share my screen. Now you can see one Excel, right? So in the backlog, let's say as I said, we have almost 70 to 80 stories, right? What we will do is we will first pick 5 more crucial or important stories. I will say important stories we will pick. Okay, and I will tell them, let's say story 1, story 2, story 3, story 4, and story 5. I hope you can see my screen, right? If not, I can little bit zoom. Can you see now? Right. Now, each user story require 3 things before the estimations. The first thing is complexity. Okay, someone is playing with the screen. Then second is, what is the second thing when we are doing the estimations? Risk. And the third thing is effort. Now, how you will calculate these things? So we'll do that when I will estimate we will rate on the scale of 0, 1 to 5. Okay, so all 3 we will rate on the scale of 1 to 5. You have to listen this very carefully. This is a very interesting exercise, and you will get to know the relative relation between this effort and estimations. So when we discuss the story 1, we will just identify like how much you will rate in terms of the complexity. Okay, now let's take an example which stories I will pick. The story 1, which is a login screen only. Story 2, I will say add to cart. Story 3, I will say this is payment, or I will say credit card payment. This one I will say order detail. When I say order detail means after completing the payment. And this is the 5th one where I will say listing of items. So what I do is I just pick 5 most important stories from the backlog. Okay, now you have to just give us some complexity numbers. Okay, according to you, if you are building a login screen, where you have to navigate from after entering the data and to the home page, what will be the complexity on the scale of 1 to 5?
1.
1. Is everyone fine with this?
2.
2. Okay, I'm just giving, okay, let's say we agree and we will put 2 here. Okay, and what is the risk on this?
There shouldn't be any risk.
We have a risk of losing the
have risk,
credentials, right?
yeah,
We
yeah.
will make sure our username password are properly encrypted,
Hmm.
right? So that's a risk we
Yes.
have. So on the scale of 1 to 5, what should be the risk for this?
1.
1
Okay.
is the lowest, or
Yeah, 1 is the lowest. Okay, I mean 1 is fine. The reason because this is not a banking application, right? This is an only e-commerce application. So even if
Yeah.
someone get your username password, they can't do that. They can only just play with your account, right? So there is not too much risk involved. So then we have the effort. What is the effort required to build this? Right? I will say let's put 2 for it. Similarly, we will discuss for the rest of the stories. Okay, I will say add to cart. I will put it 1 because it's just you have to select the item and to put it in the cart. I will say the complexity for payment, this is very high because there you have to integrate the third party and you have to validate a lot of things involved. I will say 4. Order detail, I will say again it's 1 because after completing the order, you just need to see the details. Similarly, for listing of items, this is when you are searching, it could be also 1. And then the risk, add to cart, I will say, let's put it 2. Here, the risk is very high, 5. The reason because you're using your credit card, net banking and stuff, right? So here the risk is very high. The order detail, I will say, again, it's a risk is 1. Here I will just put it 2. So similarly, we'll say, okay, how much effort is required? I will say 3. Here is 4, 2, and 1. So once you get these evaluation of these three complexity, risk, and effort, then what you have to do is you have to sum the complexity, risk, and effort, and then you have to sum it. Now, what is the sum? The sum here is why it's not taking this. Okay, I will just put it. So it's 5. Then here it's 6. Then here it's how much? 13.
13,
Then here is 4.
4 and 4.
And this one is also 4. Now we will get these numbers, right? Now we will map these things. So what we will do is we will put these stories in the order of like same 13 max to high. So this is the maximum total what we have. So 13, 6, 5, 4, 4. Now when we are doing the story points, and right now what we are doing is we are doing story point benchmarking. So right. So what we are doing is we identify the 5 different stories, and then we identify the what is the complexity, what is the risk, what is the effort. Now we will get the what is the total CRE we have, and then after mutual agreement, we will agree to pick the medium CRE number. So out of this 4, 4, 5, 6, I will say this is a medium number, right? So what we will do after discussion with the team, we will say this will be a 5 story point after an agreement with the team. And if this is 5, this is less than that. So this is 3. And if this is 3, then less than that is these 2. So these 2 will be 2 and 2. And because this is higher than like 6, so I will say this is might be 8 or a. So you can see there is no relation. There is no relation between CRE and there is story point. It is just we are doing a relative estimate, right? And you all know how to do the relative estimate, right? If I will compare a pencil with a marker, then you can easily identify what is the thickness of the marker. It's almost like double or triple as compared to the pencil, right? So these are the relative estimates. When I'm comparing same duster with a marker, I will say the duster is taking almost 4 times than the marker, or it will 8 times than a pencil. So that is relative estimates. We are using here the relative estimate techniques. We are not doing any mathematical calculations. I'm not calculating the actual diameter of the pencil or an actual diameter of a marker, and then I will say, is it 2.5 times bigger than the pencil, or is 3.6 times bigger than the pencil, right? We are just doing a relative estimates with according to our ideas, our guess, what will be. So similarly, we will identify this CRE number, and this CRE number on the basis of how much complex the story is, what are the risks involved, how much effort is required to build this story, and according to that we calculate the CRE sum. Then we will just choose a mediocre story out of these. This is a mediocre story. We agree, okay, we will put this story as a 5, or I will say let's put this story as an 8. So if this is an 8, this is lesser than that, I will say this is 5, and this was 3, and this will 3. And then this will become a 13 pointer. So that's how we will create our benchmark stories. Now, how we will do the estimations. Now you have 5 different stories with their benchmark numbers. Now we will do the real story estimations. Story 1, story 2, or I will say 1 to 5 I already took. So this will be a story 6, story 7, story 8, story 9. Right? Now, when we are saying story 6, let's take the example of story 6. I will say story 6 will be a sign up page. Okay, so now what we will do is we all will be doing the estimation for a sign up page. Now, what you have, you all have some benchmark stories, right? Now, you know what is 5, what is 8, what is 3, what is 13. Now, when you have to give an relative estimate number, you have to compare this sign up page. In the sign up page, we have few details which user have to fill, email address or a phone number, and then he has to submit. The moment he will submit, the account will create it. That is a sign up page, right? And I'm not saying he has to verify as well. That's a separate story. After the sign up, an email generates sent to the user, and then user has to verify that. That's a separate story. That's not the scope. Only the scope of the story is user have to fill that, and the moment he will do that, his account is created. Right? That is a requirement of the sign up story. Yes, Viren?
One question, Chetan. We have taken into account these 3 factors: complexity, risk, and effort. Should we also add one more factor of time required for a particular story?
Effort is time, right? What is effort?
That's how you are comparing with that. Not in days or something.
Effort is time, like how much time you need. So because we are doing relative estimates, we are not using anything related to hours. Everything is in the ratio of in the range of 1 to 5, right? How the team feels. So basically, effort is how much hours you need. Risk is the kind of dependencies or might be something which you have to involve. And complexity, when we'll say to identify the scope, how deep dive we have to identify, or we have to explore the options. So these are the 3 things. Now, if you guys have to estimate the sign up page, you can easily compare with the 5 benchmark stories. So what you have to do is you have to compare this S6 with S1, S2, S3, S4, S5, and then accordingly you have to give a number. So now we will not discuss anything. What we will do is we will again going back to the planning poker. I will reset the timer. Clear the vote. Now we are going to estimate for story 6, which is a sign up page, where I also tell what is the scope, what is the acceptance criteria we have. Now you have to give an estimate. Can you give an estimate now for a sign up page, all of you? I'm just sharing the benchmark stories, so it's easy for you guys to compare this S6 with S1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is anyone voting? I cannot see any tick mark.
Given, can you refresh maybe?
Yes, okay, I can see. Should be Sojanya, Shilpa. Are you voting? Okay, should be already voted. Sojanya, Shilpa. It's fine. I'm just flipping the card. So now you can see we have majority of 5, 5, 5, 8, 113 and 13, 12. Why it's 2, Suganti?
Like now we have, when it's a sign up page, we literally don't sign up. Like we have our Gmail or any OTPs like that, and then we sign up. So the time effort is little less.
Okay, let's hear from Surbhi. Why it's 13?
Like again, we have to manage all the stories. We have to segregate all the stories. We have to like pile up, like line by line. We have to divide the stories. That will take time, and then the final outcome will come. So until and unless we align all the stories together, we cannot get the summary of it. So it will take time.
We have only one story, right? Now, why you want to break down into
But
multiple
we have
stories?
but we have multiple options for that, right? Like we have to add up the things into the story, so it's not a one person job. Many people will give different feedbacks. Many people will have different interest of conflicts here. So for that to match up, we need to have a summary in one story also.
Yeah, but
So
those all
that's why.
things we will discuss when we are describing the stories, right? So when we are writing the stories, at that time we will mention what are the technical details required, what kind of parties are involved, like is it really only a front end job, or is it really required on a back end, or is it really required some kind of like API or a database changes as well. So once we get all those details, then all those parties are really working together, right? So
But
might
if
be
we like
within a three pointer, they all can work, and they all say, okay, we will divide the 3 pointers of 1, 1, 1. So might be one story point of work for the front end, where he just need to create couple of like labels and the text box, and then once he create on the sign up button after entering the detail, we will get an account created, right? We are not verifying, we are not signing in, we are just creating an account for that. Can anyone else add something why it's 3? Then might be it helps for others. I can see.
Yeah, because we have already estimated the login page, and suppose we have already created it. So if we are doing only sign up and entering the user's credentials, maybe we can use some of the components which is already available. So it might take some less effort as compared to the login screen.
Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, when I come to the sign up page, actually I have options. Either I have to create an account, or if I am already signed up, then I can log in. So I think it's a little bit more than login. I have given it 5. I thought that 8 will be more. So though the sign up will have more options, it has an option. If you have login, then you can log in or create an account.
No, but
So
then
I
why
think
when we are clicking on sign up, when we don't have an account, right? Sign
yeah,
up
when you
means
don't
you
have,
really want to register yourself.
yeah.
So when you really want to register yourself, that means you don't have any account. But what we have to
Yeah.
do is when we are entering a particular email or phone number, at that time we will check, do we have an account on this particular email or a mobile number? But that is also a small check, right? So for that thing, we will say that validation is not under the scope of the story. That could be in a separate story. Or if we can do that within the story, that we can also discuss. Do we really need to validate that particular email address? Like, because we have a condition, each email address will only have one account, or like each phone number will only have one account. So if someone is trying to register with same mobile number multiple times, the user can't, because the system says this particular mobile number or email address is already registered. So those kind of validations, if we are putting, so that is the one. So when we are discussing about the estimations, we will ask these kind of requirements to the product owner. Like, this could be one of the validation. Do you really want to add this within the same story, or do you want to create a separate story for this validation? Right? So these kind of discussion will do that, and accordingly we will update the stories. Then what we will update, that part we will talk about again when we are writing what should be the out of scope of the user story, what should be the mention the acceptance criteria of the story, what should be the definition of done of the user story, what should be the description, what is the technical details we should add. All these things are part of story writing, which is a product owner or a BA should do that before going into the estimation phase. If something is missing, then it's team members' responsibility to just raise those questions in front of the product owners and the BAs so that they can further refine that user story. And then when we are adding these kind of details with the same story, there might be high chances the same story could be a 13-pointer or could be like 20 story points. And if that's the case, then it's a responsibility of the product owners and BA to break down that user stories. Then they will break down into the smaller part. So that's where these story point estimations are really help for the team. Do we really need to break that story in the smaller part? If this whole story is only required a 2 story points, then it doesn't require a more breakdown. Then we'll say it's only a 2 story point, which you can easily deliver. So let's only stick to this. We will try to deliver all these requirements within this one story. So these kind of discussions are also happening after giving those high level estimates. Now we will understand what we have to do. Can we do one thing? Can we again re-vote? I just clear the vote. Can you guys again re-vote? Now you have a better understanding of this particular user story. Now you know what is the in scope, what is out scope. Now can you give another shot of the estimations?
Chetan, we are not clear, right? Like in the sense of if the testing should be part of the same story or not. We are
that does depends on how the team is working, right? So when we say the particular team is working in a vertical slicing, that means each and every story requires the development, requires the testing, requires the deployment. Everything is part of the same story. If the particular team, if that's not working in vertical slicing, if the team is working in horizontal slicing, where they will say this story is only for the front end. So we'll only estimate for the UI part. We will not do any validation check. We will not even build any functionality of the sign up button. We will only create a UI. Then it's a horizontal slicing. And in horizontal slicing, we can say the QA is not involved. We will only do the QA once the button functionality is also implemented. Once it's integrated, then only we will include the QA. So that depends how the team is structured, what kind of a slicing the team is follow. And accordingly, we will include those things in the estimations. So here you can assume we are doing a vertical slicing. So all these SDLC cycles, the requirement gathering, design, development, testing, and the integration, testing, and the final acceptance, everything is part of the same story. Then you have to estimate. Now you have to give the numbers. If you want to change, you can change your numbers.
So is it the estimate for the same story? Which is
yes, it's the same story. Now, because we spend more time, we just elaborate what is really required. And now we are just going to discuss and do the estimations for this sign up page. Is anyone else estimating? Okay, I will just reveal the card. We have 3, 5, 3, 5, 8. Now at least we have a certain kind of a alignment on this. So then we will see either we will go in the 5 or 8. Now we have 2 outliers. The one outlier is the 3 and another side is 8. So what we will do is we'll again discuss, and then after discussion we will align. Either are we going with 5 or are we aligned with 8 or should we go with 3? So these kind of discussions we will do, and then we will, if we couldn't align, if everyone is not giving the same numbers, then what we will do is we will go with the majority and we'll say, okay, if everyone is fine, in this case, we have 2, 5 and 2, 3, let's stick to 5. If the person who says 8, if that person is fine with the 5, then we will do 5. If that person is still want to stick to 8, and then if he can elaborate why it's 8, and if the rest of the team members is fine with 8, then we will put the 8 story point. So that's how we will do that, because it's very hard to get a same number from throughout the team members. All right. So at certain level, we have to just do these kind of discussions, and we will align with this. In this case, we can ask to Viren, are you fine with 5, or do you really want to stick to 8? And then let's see what Viren is saying.
I think, Chetan, I would stick to 8. The reason being, as we already kept our benchmark stories. So login story, the sign in one is benchmarked as 5, right? Let's take a relation to that. Now sign up is always more complex than login. It's quite simple because sign up has multiple options. It could be, sign up via Google, sign up via mobile number, sign up via email. Plus the backend efforts is also more, considering the fact that login is just checking the credentials, whereas sign up is creating or generating new user accounts in the whole system, for all the systems that you have within your app or website or whatever it may be. And for that reason, it has slightly more efforts than login, and login has 5. So then it's obvious to rate it as 8. So yeah, that's the reason.
What other fields? Whoever says 3 and 5, should we go with 8?
Yeah, we'll go with 8.
If everyone
It should
fine,
be
then...
5.
Sorry?
It should be 5. It should be 5 because it's
5.
just a sign up as we discussed. It doesn't require much of authentication. We just need to see if the user is already existing or not, and then we'll just sign up.
Yes. Now the thing is, what Viren is trying to explain here is, he's saying we are having multiple sign up options, but again, that thing we can describe in the user story. Are we only talking about a plain sign up where we are not talking about the sign up through Google or sign up through Facebook or sign up through LinkedIn? We are only talking about a form where user have to add the few details and then he will click on the sign up. That's the only requirement. If that's the only requirement, can we still stick to 5, or should we need 8? So these kind of discussions we can do that, and then accordingly we will see.
Okay. So we need that clarification, like how it should be done. So if we need all these things.
Yes, then it's the responsibility of the product owner to clarify that question. Let's say if right now, if I'm playing the role of a product owner, I will say, we'll only keep a single simple sign up page where we are not integrating any Google sign up or Facebook sign up. It's only with the form of certain details. User have to put the email, name, first name, and phone number and email, and that's a sign up. Then this is the requirement of the story. Now, can we stick to 5?
Although I respect Saujany's views, but I still would keep it 8 because of the fact that, as you mentioned, sign up for a user in any system requires more details than login. Right? You enter or you download any application or website, or it could be anything. When you sign up, it asks for your name, it asks for your email address, then password. At least these 3 details plus a lot of other details according to the systems developed. Whereas when you sign in, that means you are logging into the same system. Then it's a simple check of your whether your credentials are matching or not. So considering that we have kept sign in as 5 story points. So considering that story point, sign up always has more efforts than sign in, right? And in that case, the jump is always from 5 to 8. If we could have something like 6 or something like that, then would have been agreed to that. But since we follow the Fibonacci series, it's 8 according to me.
What's your thoughts, Saujanya? So this how we will do that. Unless team members are not aligned, we will keep doing the discussions, and we'll try to align those team members, right? Then we'll say, if this is the case, if you all feel the sign up is required more effort, more complexity than a login page, then definitely it's even the estimation is more than 5 what we have. But if you all are aligned, then I will say, okay, we will align and we'll put it 8 story points for this. So that's how we will do that. And then similarly, we will move to the next user stories. We will say, okay, next user story, it could be something, sign up is done, login is done. Then what we will do next? We will do a reset password, right? So that could be the another user story. Now, when you have to discuss this, for product owner will first elaborate what he or she is really required under this, what is the scope of this user story, and then we will discuss, we will align, we will try to again compare this reset password with these benchmark stories, and we will see where it fits, and then we will move into the planning poker, and then we will estimate it. Again, there might be scenario where we are having different views, and that's really helpful. When we have a different views from the team member, that means each and every team members really want to add something from a different perspective. And sometimes product owners and VAs, they might forget to write those acceptance criteria or those details into user stories, right? Then when we are having different estimations, then we will discuss on that part. When we are doing the discussions, we are elaborating, we are refining the story in more detail. We are adding those details in the user stories. And then we will, once we are aligning somewhere around like similar story points, when I say like either it's between 2, 3, 5 or between 5, 8 or 13, then we will try to do a discussion, and then we will say where mutually we are agreeing to put one number. That's how we will do that. So this is the whole exercise of estimations. Here, the important part is how you will relate your story point with the relative estimates. So this is the way, this is the calculation you can do that, how you can relate your complexity, risk, and effort with the story points. And then every time you have to stick to this relative estimate at least for a couple of sprints. It doesn't mean every sprint you have to change. Every quarter or after every 2 quarters, you have to revisit your benchmark stories, and you might have to change. The reason, when you created these benchmark stories first time, there might be a scenario your team is new. But now, after 6 months, the same team members are working together. They have better coordination. They understand the project well. They have the in-depth understanding of the whole process. They have a very good alignment between the team. They also understand the technologies, what we are using. So now, for the same thing, where initially they said the complexity is 1 and 4, they might reduce. They might say now after 6 months, the complexity for login is 1, for payment is 2 or 3. Similarly, the risk is also reduced, might be effort is also, this is the main part which will have impact after 6 months. The effort will reduce. So if the effort is reduced, then you will again get the new sum, and then you will again create your reference benchmark stories. So this exercise we have to do at least after every 6 months within the same project, so that we will align with the current expertise of the team members. And that's how we will use these relative estimates in our every time whenever we are doing the sprint planning or the sprint refinement ceremonies, where we are doing the estimations techniques. With this is I'm just concluding this session. Now, if anyone have any question, comment.
Chetan, I have one basic question, maybe. Why it was decided to use this Fibonacci series instead of natural numbers, any other numbers?
See, there's no hard rule. We have to only stick to the Fibonacci, but there is a relation. The Fibonacci series is also have a relative connections. What it is, when you say something, when I say the relative estimates of comparing a pencil with a marker, right? You can easily say it's almost double of the pencil or it's triple of the pencil. The same, we don't have any relation between Fibonacci. What is the double of 1? It's 2. And then after that we have 3. But 3 is not double of 2. Right? It's just a sum. So when you have a complexity of 1, 2, and 3, when you sum those things, you will get a new number. There is no straight relation, and that's why we will stick to that. If you compare, if I will write down here, right, this is the Fibonacci series. So when you say your one story is equal to this, another story is equal to this, when you say, should I put it 3? What you will do? What is the total effort on these 2 stories? This is a, let's say, example of user story 1. This is user story 3. This is user story 6.
You're not sharing or something, Chetan. I'm not sure. I'm not.
Okay. Just yeah, got it. So you can see this. This is 1, 2. This is a Fibonacci series, right? There is no straight relation. This is almost just a sum of 1, 1, 2, 2 and 1, 3, 3 and 2, 5. This is almost the sum of last 2 digits. That's how the Fibonacci, this is the only relation we have. When we are saying one of the user story is equal to 1, there is another story which is equal to 2. Now we have to say what is 3. We'll say, okay, I have to estimate this particular user story 6. But it's not equal to this story, and even it's not equal to, I will say, another story which is a very big story. You will say it's somewhere between. So if it's somewhere between, what I will do? So I will say, okay, let's stick to 3, but I feel it's slightly bigger than the previous story, which is 3. So that's how we will do the 6. That's the relative relation we have, and that's why we are preferring. I'm again saying you will not see anywhere written we have to only do the estimation in the Fibonacci. There are teams they are using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are teams, they are stick to, for your surprise, people are using fruits name instead of the Fibonacci series. So they will say this is, and how is it? I will if you search on the Google, you will see people put the names, okay, with the breeds, the dog's breeds, right? What's the smallest breed of dog we have?
Pomeranian or Dash.
Yes. So that is the smallest number. Then after that, they will say, or they will say the animals. So the smallest, the one they will say for us, 1 is a rat. Now what is 2? Rat's bigger, we will say, okay, we will put a rabbit. So rabbit is slightly bigger. So that is 2. Then after that, what is after rabbit? We will say, let's put cat. So people are using that as well.
Yes, I've seen this. Yeah.
Yes,
sense.
and that makes sense, because when you are comparing these, your mind will stick. Okay, should I say cat or should I say rabbit? This particular story is not looks equals to cat, it looks equals to rabbit. So I will put rabbit. People are also using these as an estimates. You don't have to only stick to numbers, because we are not calculating. We are not doing any kind of sum here. We are just putting numbers 5, 8, 3, 13 and kind of thing. And few of the teams, they are using this. Few of the teams, they're using fruits. They will say, okay, grapes is the smallest one. Or then after grapes, they will say, okay, sapota. And then they will say, okay, orange. Then they will say, okay, apple, then pineapple. So that's how they can make an image, and then how they can compare the size. Right? So same thing we have when we are doing the Fibonacci series. It just give you in the mind, is it slightly bigger than the previous number?
Okay, fine. Got it. Clear on that. That was really helpful. Because why it has come, like I had that question, why Fibonacci series, why they have come up with that decision. And
there's no calculation behind that. It's just some scientists, they explore it, they just design it. And that's how this really fits in our current system of the estimations. That's why we are using.
Okay. Thank you, Chetan, for that.
Any other questions? Anyone?
One more question. So in Jira, although we are saying in Agile, we should not be comparing the story point to time estimation. Why do we have it in Jira, in that tool?
No, we don't have. No, we don't have in Jira.
We don't have?
No.
We have removed?
What?
We have this effort estimation in ours.
See, that's few of the teams they're using. That's what I'm saying. Not each and everyone is using story point estimations. Few of the teams, they're using the hours estimations, and then if they really need hours estimation, they will go with the effort. For example, when we will say we are doing in Kanban, right? In few of the Kanban teams, they're going with efforts. They're not using story points.
Okay. So whatever is
a practice.
to the team, whatever is working fine for the team, they can use. It's not
Yes.
hard and rule that they should not be using our estimation in Agile.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
But in Agile, we are suggesting to do a relative estimates. Don't do an hourly estimates, because that not fits. Why it not fits, I will tell you. In your team, you have one team member who is having 10 years of experience, and there's another team member who is only having 6 months of experience. Now, if you will put a story, you will say, okay, this particular story is 3 hours of work required. Now, if the same 10 years experience people will do, he might finish that in 30 minutes. And the same junior team member, he might require 2 days. So then how this will help? Then hourly estimate will not help, right? And we are not preferring to do the estimate on the basis of individuals' capabilities. If people are doing the estimates on individuals' capabilities, that means that's not a teamwork. That's an individual work. When I say I have to assign 3 tasks to the 10 years old experienced guy and the 3 tasks to the junior guy, then only you can do the estimation on individual basis. But we are doing as a team estimations where anyone from the team can pick any of the work. When we have these kind of a culture, which is the agile culture, we are not preferring the hourly estimates.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, is there anything else? Otherwise, we are done with this session, and then I will post the next session. Either it will be in the story writing, or if we are doing something else, that depends on the voting, we will choose. Okay. Thank you, everyone. See you on the next Tuesday.
Thanks, Chetan. Bye. Good night.
Bye.
Thanks.